Yeah. Hello, everybody. We exceeded expectations on attendance again, which makes me really, really happy because it's going to make the other librarians really, really happy. I do want to say really quick before you leave, I've put little comment slips out on all the tables. Please fill one of those out and drop it in that box back there on your way out. So now, President of the Stitt Group, W. Orlo Stitt, is an NAHB Certified Green Professional, has led seminars on energy efficiency across the country, and has won numerous awards recognizing his commitment to sustainable building. He currently lives in a net zero plus energy efficient home in an energy planned and sustainable subdivision in Northwest Arkansas. He is the author of Holistically Green Homes, 18 Principles for Designing, Building, and Retrofitting Your Energy Efficient Home. And there are copies of that in the back, and there's also an online version?
Yes.
There's also an online version for those of us, or for those of you who are watching live stream. Michele Halsell, who is also here today, has been working in the field of sustainability since 2007, when she accepted the position of Managing Director of the Applied Sustainability Center at the University of Arkansas. Her work there emphasized place-based sustainability and developing education and outreach programs aimed at community leaders. She has served on a number of local, state, and national boards and committees. Michele recently served as Assistant Director of the Sustainability Institute at Penn State, and she is back in Arkansas now, doing this, and her mission is to accelerate learning about sustainability and to expand the commitment to sustainability in the public and private sectors like we're doing right now. So I want to welcome Orlo Stitt and Michele Halsell. Thank you.
Good. Welcome. Thanks for coming. We're going to do like a news broadcast. We're going to be co-anchors, and we're going to go back and forth a little bit on different topics and different things. We don't want to take a lot or more time on resumes or biographies. I'm in a library, bibliographies. Anyway, so we want to skip over. Now, we want to let you know that there are copies of the written out biographies, and if you want to know. But we are going to spend just a little bit of practical time talking about what I know about Michele, and she's going to say, and hopefully nice things about me. You've already heard some of it, but this is more on a practical basis. Now, you also got idea traps. Everybody get an idea trap? Anybody not get an idea trap? Laura back here will help you with an idea trap. And there, you know, the idea trap is a little, it goes in your shirt pocket or your purse to catch ideas. And you know what happens to good ideas when you don't write them down? You lose them. So put it by your bed too. Then you can go back to sleep. And ever since I took a course at the University of New York at Buffalo on creativity, I've carried an idea trap. And it really works. And I think that I attribute to some of the things that I've done and learned over the years to making sure I don't forget the good ideas. So let's move on, and I will tell you a little bit about Michele. And she says, well, we're not going to worry about the biography. I just want to tell everybody that I took 1,000 square, downsized just recently to 1,000 square feet. And she, on the previous home, right here in Fayetteville in Wilson Park, she took a utility bill of about 1,400 kilowatt hours per month, and she took it down to 400. 500, okay, I don't want to. 500. I've been known to exaggerate before, but anyway, 500. Anyway, and that was about the first time that I really knew Michele. We, first of all, were with a group Lionel Jordan established called Fayetteville Ford Green Economy Group. And I met her there, and then I met her further, or continued with that while we were doing an interfaith power and light projects and meetings. And that's really caring for creation. And we actually insulated and then applied a ground vapor barrier underneath Mount Comfort Presbyterian Church, which is the oldest established and continuing to serve church in Arkansas. And it has been burned and rebuilt and burned, but there was no insulation anywhere. So we insulated the ceiling, we insulated the underneath the floor, and put a vapor barrier down as a project. No charge to the church. So,
in other words, we got dirty together underneath a building. We got really filthy.
don't tell everybody that.
That was bad. Dead raccoons and the whole bit.
She and her husband Jim have a rental property with solar panels on it. She lives about 2 blocks from here, and she walks and bikes. And she bikes about everywhere she goes. She has a plug-in vehicle, car, and doesn't have many miles because she bikes both places. She uses a solar clothes dryer. Anybody knows what that is? Bob? Mm-hmm. It's called a clothesline. Mostly vegetarian. We'll talk a little bit more about vegetarian and eating and what that has to do with climate change. After her bachelor's degree at Hendrix in languages, mostly French, she went on and got a master's degree in business and then a doctorate in education, basically. I call it human resources and workforce development. As a state and she worked as a sustainability director both at University of Arkansas and then at Penn State. I think they gave her an offer that she couldn't refuse. But anyway, they moved to State College, and we're proud to have her back here. And we've been working together on volunteer things, not for profit. We just want to be of service in combating climate change.
Okay, so now it's my turn to tell you a little bit more about Orlo Stitt. So
I'll be back.
My 14 or some odd years, 15 years in sustainability pales in comparison to Orlo's 44 years in this field. One of the things that you might not know about Orlo is that he built the first solar home, passive solar home, in 1971. So this is a lifelong commitment on Orlo's part. And over the course of a lifetime, you become an expert in your field. And he is a recognized expert in his field, recognized by the American Solar Energy Society as an honorary fellow in 2021. He has built an entire subdivision in Rogers, Arkansas, South Sun Estates, where every home is built with passive solar built into it. Many homes have solar energy on the rooftop, and now they're building homes that are not just net zero, but net positive. You can actually power your car on those homes as well. So he has a long, long history of leadership in the building industry with the National Association of Home Builders. He's a green certified professional. Anyway, it's an honor for me to be here with Orlo because he knows eminently more than I know about this. And you can learn a lot from his book. So. But
I might say that she knows a lot about things that I don't know about, so we dovetail well together.
Hopefully we do. Hopefully we do. So, but his company, Stitt Energy, now has 4 divisions, and Orlo is focusing on this holistically green living concept. So it's more than just the house that you build or the house that you retrofit. It's your whole lifestyle, and helping to educate people about that. So, Orlo, you want to talk about our objective, what we want to cover tonight?
Okay. We want to talk about things that combat climate change. Mm-hmm. And I have a little saying, and we'll get more into that solar and wind energy Granted, there are going to be improvements in batteries and efficiencies, whether it's your refrigerator or your car, are the vaccine, solar, for climate change. So we just need to see what we can do to combat climate change, and that's what this is all about. We're going to present practical solutions here and now, tried and proven over these many years. My wife, Mary, who's in the back, and I'd like to recognize Laura, who is our marketing person within the company. She not only handles the education part, but the solar and the homes and the components part. So she was an integral part of putting this together. Proven to be tried and proven, but also proven to be economical. I want to emphasize, and I, for one, and many other people say, climate change, I don't know what to do, it's so ominous. Ukraine and Russia are fighting, and what they blow up in an hour seems such ominous compared to what we do day after day. So somehow it's not just our home, but it's global and it's intercontinental, and we're all in some way looking for solutions. So there is hope. We do have tried and proven solutions that are economical. The Inflation Reduction Act, $0.4 trillion, that's a whole lot of money. And now I'm hearing the word that $0.4 trillion may not last very long, because churches just turn the switch on a 53 kW system in Fort Smith. Presbyterian Church would be proud that I told you all about that. Anyway, it's not just for people, it's for churches, it's for businesses, it's for schools. It's somehow to change the energy that we're getting from fossil fuels into sun and wind and efficiency. So we're going to review 2 chapters in the book, my book, and as examples of what's there and what you might find interesting. This is my book. Over the years, Michele was accurate. We built a home, designed it in 71, built it in 72. In 1973, it was on national television, both in US and Canada. And what was happening in 1973, for those of you, Jan, I think you probably remember. Nan. What was happening in 1973?
Yes, ma'am.
So they decided that we're going to flex our muscles, and they're going to control not only the price, but the quantity, how much they produce, which means it's a cartel or anyway, they have control through of the whole world in terms of energy, petroleum industry. So, but these are real homes. Ever since that time, 1971, 72, 73, when our home was on national television talking about solutions to the Saudi control. We haven't done much about it since. 1, 2, 3% plus or minus, we're not sure how much. Many of the photos in the book, 129 people signed off on letting us use their pictures in the book. Now, you don't publish somebody's house in a book that goes all over the country unless you have permission. We see that as people that agree with us that there are solutions and they're practical, tried over and over, and proved. This is the 3rd edition of the book, and we did find there were some things that we could write and document better. The principles and details in the book are holistic. They're not just about building a home or retrofitting a home. The ideas such as light bulbs or window shades or trees in your yard, or landscaping. Xeriscaping is the word. All those things in some way from the book can be extrapolated into your everyday life. Every day you get up, every day you go to bed, how you live, how you set your thermostat, what you do in the future. Buy a new refrigerator, read the disclosures on it. Heat pump, dryers for your washer and dryer. Heat pump, dryer. Remember that little vent in behind it? It sucks air out of the room and blows it outside. Wow, what an inefficient way to dry clothes. Hers is much better, that solar clothes dryer. But anyway, in our house, we have a heat pump clothes dryer. And it doesn't have a vent. We foamed it off, squirted foam in there, and it got hard, and we haven't looked back. So these are things that in the book, it's just not about homes. It's about life and about holistically living. So we've gone from homes all the way into holistically green living. And that's really what we're talking about tonight.
So show of hands, quickly. How many of you live in a rented property? Okay, so we got a few renters, and that means that you're not necessarily in control of, you can't put solar panels on the roof. You're not necessarily in charge of, what kinds of appliances the landlord put in that house. Orlo?
Well, how many of you own your home?
Okay.
Right, most of you, yep.
Does anybody in here have a rental property? Okay, awesome. So
Wow,
we've got some landlords in here. Great, awesome. And we were trying to get a sense of where people came from tonight. I heard a lot of people had come in from Rogers. So if you live in Rogers, raise your hand. Okay, wow, there's a good Rogers contingent. Thanks for being here tonight. How about Bentonville? Oh, wow, some more folks came from the north. That's awesome. Springdale. Okay, a couple from Springdale. Fayetteville. A lot of Fayettevilleans tonight. Anyone from Fort Smith or south of Fayetteville? Okay, we kind of got one. Okay, awesome, terrific. Thanks for being here. So, wow, we got the region in the room, didn't we? This is great.
How many of you have a plug-in or a true 100% electric vehicle? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's the
6.
bomb.
Yep.
Is it
7,
not?
8. 7,
Right.
8.
Yeah. When was the last time you bought gas?
9, Mary. No, you
No,
have
no. When was the last time you bought gas?
Since I got my electric car,
Oh.
a year and a half ago.
A year and a half ago, you haven't bought gas, right? We haven't bought gas since February, right? So.
Let me ask you, have you noticed that the price for gasoline or for electricity when you plug it in has gone up or down? Or
Electricity hasn't, I haven't really noticed it going up.
no, it's just about the same, isn't it?
Yeah.
When it was up to
Pretty amazing.
$5 or whatever it was, were you worried about that? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, good news, in the Inflation Reduction Act, there's $900 million allocated for expanding EV charging stations. So if you've been worried about where am I going to plug it up and how am I going to recharge it, I think it's like 53,000 miles worth of highways are going to be loaded with EV charging stations. So if you've been hesitating, next time you're getting a car, look for an electric car. And the rebates on new cars, and you'll get a rebate on a used EV if you can find a used electric vehicle. So they're really trying to push this. All right, how many of you have solar on your rooftop already? Or oh wow, great, awesome, fantastic.
Richard, you and Nan do, but it's not working right now. Yeah,
It's just a water heater.
yeah.
That's okay. That's good. That's solar hot water heating, right? That's a solar application. That's awesome. Okay.
So, a little note about electric cars is that now you can drive 250 to 350 miles without charging. Mm-hmm. And when you do charge, by that time you probably have to go to the bathroom. You may want a Coke or a bite. You can charge your car in somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes and have another 300 miles to drive. And that is changing rapidly. I hear that Tesla and Volkswagen and several other companies are going together to use all the chargers. So they're rapid chargers, direct current, high flow, high amps per minute. So, okay,
All right, well, so one of the first things we want to talk to you about is personal commitment. This is the foundation for everything, and it is chapter 1 in Orlo's book. We know that little things add up, right? A little bit of carbon here, a little bit of carbon there, and before long, there's a lot of carbon in the atmosphere, and we've got global warming and a changing climate. But the reverse is also true. A little bit of savings here, a reduction there, and before long, those things also add up. So it's really imperative for everyone in this room and everybody you know to start taking those actions to reduce our emissions, and that adds up and adds up for the good.
And from your heart, at some
Yeah.
point, right from who you are and what you believe in, no matter how old you are or how young your kids or grandkids or great-grandkids are, something has to be committed to before there's any behavior that follows.
Yeah. How many, show of hands again, how many of you are worried about climate change? Yeah. I think we all are. I think that's kind of the reason that we're here in the room tonight. I know that's the reason that Orlo and I are here. We're worried about this. So I'm preaching to the choir here, I get that, but it's real. It's caused by human activity, primarily the burning of fossil fuels. It's happening much faster than the scientists ever predicted, right? We're kind of getting into a runaway scenario. We've got drought and fires out west in California, in Oregon, and Washington State, right? We've got floods in American cities happening over and over and over again at great expense to taxpayers, right? To repair the roads and bridges, at great expense to insurance companies, and at great personal cost to the people who have to go through this. Pakistan's going through it right now. They emit 1% of the world's carbon emissions, and look at the price they are paying for that, right? It's huge and it's disproportionate. The good news is, though, is that solutions do exist. That we know the technology, we have the science, we know what needs to be done, but we just have to get committed to do it, and we have to do it together. So I hope that you're all familiar with the UN, the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. They issued their 6th report this year, and it was pretty darn scary. But to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, that's 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit, global greenhouse gas emissions have to peak before 2025 and be reduced by 43% by 2030. That's 8 years. We have 8 years to achieve a 43% reduction. Furthermore, global temperatures will stabilize when carbon dioxide emissions reach net zero. We have to get to net zero. The Earth has a carbon budget. There's only so much carbon that the Earth can absorb in the ocean, in the soil, through the trees, natural processes of carbon sequestration, and we keep emitting more carbon than that, right? We just keep exceeding, blowing past the budget year after year after year. So we're gonna have to actually go beyond net zero, and we're gonna have to start reversing, going in the opposite direction. All right, and then one more thing I want to tell you about
And
this.
there are solutions.
There are solutions to do this. It's not impossible. So, the co-chair of the IPCC report says that the, oops, can you hear that? Okay, can you hear that still? Okay, all right. Here's one thing that stood out to me from that report. The right policies, infrastructure, and technology can enable changes to our lifestyles and behavior, which can result in a 40 to 70% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. It's possible. It's possible. There is hope. The evidence also shows that lifestyle changes can improve our personal health and well-being. Less asthma, right? Less obesity. So, there's hope. But again, we need the policies at all levels of government to enable those behavior changes, right? To make it possible for us to purchase those solar panels and those electric cars. Now, this is a book that I find extremely hopeful. Are you familiar with this book, Drawdown? Project Drawdown. Excellent book. Beautiful imagery in this book. This book presents a big, hairy, audacious idea. big, hairy, audacious idea, that it's not just possible to stop or halt global warming, it is possible to reverse global warming, right? And they lay out all the different ways that this can be done. So the ideas in this book are in different categories. There's energy, right? How do we power our homes? How do we power our cities and our businesses and industry? Solar energy, geothermal energy, wind energy, wave energy, etc. It also talks a lot about food and farming, because it turns out that one of the biggest things we can do to reverse global warming is change our diets and eat a plant-based diet, which your cardiologist will thank you for. Farming practices. Farming practices can either emit carbon into the atmosphere or they can sequester carbon out of the atmosphere. Women and girls, this is another surprising area. Educating women and girls is one of the most effective ways to reverse global warming. Transportation, how we get from point A to point B, is another important piece of the puzzle. Materials, right? Our lives, we are swimming in materials, but it takes energy to produce all of those materials. Land use, this is one of my favorites. So hey, the forest, right? The Amazon rainforest, all the forests here in northwest Arkansas and around the state, they sequester carbon. But when we go out and clear cut that to create a farm or a ranch or a subdivision, all of a sudden we've lost a whole bunch of carbon sequestration potential. And then we add to that burden the fact that some of those farming practices emit even more carbon instead of sequestering it, and or we have urban sprawl and we're all driving further to get to work or to school or whatever. And so this is a multiplier. Land use, it has a multiplier effect on carbon emissions and climate change. Buildings and cities. 27% of carbon emissions come from the operation of our buildings, heating, cooling, lighting, etc., right? And the buildings that will be on the planet in 2050, right? 2/3 of those buildings have already been built, and they are not energy efficient, right? They are wasting energy every single day. So we have a huge challenge here to retrofit all of those buildings and make them more energy efficient. It's going to create a ton of jobs if we'll just get busy and do it. Coming attractions is really interesting. You see there's a photo of a bunch of solar array, and you see a tractor underneath it. In the past, we had this debate, oh, if you put solar panels out there in on this farmland, then we can't grow food or crops on that farmland. But what we're starting to see is elevated solar panels. The tractors and the farm equipment can still run underneath it. So the farmer gets a steady income from the energy he's selling from the solar panels, while also getting variable income, because crop commodity prices go up and down all the time, from whatever he's producing on his land. At Penn State, we did this. We did a 500-acre solar farm, 70 megawatts, that provides 25% of Penn State's electricity from solar. And the farmers there are grazing sheep under those solar panels, right? They didn't have to give up their farming as a lifestyle. So there are tons of solutions in here. Now the question is, who's going to implement the solutions? So this requires action at all levels. The federal government, we've got the Inflation Reduction Act that's just been passed. You're going to see money flowing into all kinds of endeavors related to energy efficiency and renewable energy and EV charging stations and so forth. Some of it for schools and for churches. So if you go to church, tell your church to get busy. State government, ARPSC, that stands for the Arkansas Public Service Commission. And so they make a lot of rules that affect you and me. Who's gotten their free home energy audit? Raise your hand if you had a free home energy audit. Awesome. Okay, there's 3 of us. That means the rest of you who own homes, you need to go get your home energy audit. And guess what? You don't have to own that home, because renters can also get a free home energy audit. And the beauty of it is, when they do your home energy audit, they do the blower door test, and then they go around. I've got a little condo over here. They did a home energy audit for me earlier this year. While they were at my house, they put new weather stripping around the doors, they caulked all the windows, and they sealed all the ductwork that day and didn't charge me a dime. So please get your free home energy audit. The legislature has a role to play in this. Local governments, City of Fayetteville, they are about to embark on a planning process for a climate action and adaptation plan. Get involved. Business and industry. We see business and industry leading the way here. Walmart has been a leader in this area for many, many, many years, since Lee Scott stepped out there in 2005 and said, we're going to be supplied 100% by renewable energy. And they're not alone. This is a trend in business and industry. Universities, they do the research, but we also have to reduce our own footprint, right? We can't just do the research. Churches and nonprofits are doing this. But ultimately, last one, it's up to us. It's up to everybody in this room to do their part. So here's the drawdown solutions. If you look in that book, go get your LED light bulbs. You can do this weekend. Insulate your house if it's not adequately insulated, and you get rebates and incentives. It's very inexpensive with the rebates. Window shades, you know those things on your windows? Close the blinds in the afternoon when it's hot and sunny. Open them up in the morning to provide light so you don't have to turn on the light bulbs. When you get the chance, get that electric vehicle. I know they're expensive, but when you get the opportunity, get one. Rooftop solar electric, look into that. That is getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and it really makes sense, and Orlo knows a lot about that. Eat a plant-rich diet. Reduce food waste. Don't waste food. Get a hybrid or a hybrid car. You can get a hybrid if you get a Prius. Save water, because the hot water, every drop you save energy and carbon emissions. And heat pumps. So these can be used for cooling and heating, for water heating, and as Orlo mentioned earlier, for a clothes dryer. But get that free home energy audit. Okay. Here's something else you need to do. You've got to start talking to your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers, your family members about your concerns, right? Catherine Hayhoe is a climate scientist who works at Texas Christian University. She's an evangelical Christian, right? And she's done a lot of research. And what she has discovered is that when people take a survey and you say, are you worried about climate change? Everyone is worried about it and everyone believes in it. But the next question she asks is, do people you know worry about climate change? Do they believe climate change is real? And they all say, nope, nobody else believes it's real. I'm the only one. My family and friends, they don't believe it's real. But they all answered the survey the same way. So they're harboring concerns and nobody's talking about it, right? So start talking about it. Advocate for change at the local, state, and national levels. You need to just pester the heck out of John Bozeman and who else do we have up there? I've forgotten.
Yeah,
Tom
Steve.
Cotton. Go after those guys. Let them know that you want to see climate action. Join and support NGOs like the Sierra Club, the Citizen Climate Lobby. Vote for candidates who support climate change and who don't deny it. And most of all, make a personal commitment and be visible about it. Get that clothesline and hang your skivvies out there for your neighbors to see, okay? Because when they see you do it, they'll go, oh, hey, yeah, I could do that too, right? I could do it. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking now because I know you really want to hear what Orlo has to say. So one of the biggest components of our own carbon footprint for everybody in this room are the houses that we live in, the apartments that we live in, and the energy they use, right? Holistically Green Living, Orlo's book, is going to provide a lot of insights into practical and economical ways that you can reduce your carbon footprint, increase your comfort, improve your health, save a lot of money, and make a positive difference. And so we're about to take this deep dive into Orlo's book and hopefully learn some steps, some things that you can do, and some innovative ways that you can make a difference too. Orlo?
Okay. Wow, I commend Michele. Very well said. And the whole thing comes down to your own personal commitment, and then you can share it. And we see a lot of people that have written books, lots of books, including Al Gore, and he lost because he had 13,000 square feet and he hadn't done anything to it. But, and I'm not being political here, I'm being factual, people found out that he had this huge house and he was promoting, and this was 1999 and 2000. This has been going on a long time. But people have to do something. Don't just read about it and talk about it. Do something. Act. Change your behavior. And Mary, who's back in the back, and I enjoy our vegetarian, actually a vegan diet better than we used to eat. We don't eat beef. Beef, as it grows, and there are 3 stomachs or 5 stomachs, however many stomachs, burp and fart, and they give off methane. So it's fun, and it's an enjoyable thing to do. I'm going to talk about 2 chapters in the book. We've already talked a little bit about commitment, but 2 more chapters here. It's old technology. Ice house, before electrification, when people had to have ice in their ice boxes if they wanted to keep their cheese and their milk and their meat a few more days. Keep it fresh. Eggs, whatever you put in your refrigerator now, if you didn't have an electric refrigerator and freezer, you had to rely on ice. But in the summer, they had to figure out how they could have ice in the summer as well as the winter. You know, if you put your head in the refrigerator and your feet in the oven, you should be comfortable. Well, you know, they like to eat good things both summer and winter. So they, Harvard College Extension Service, Farm Extension Service, Agriculture, set up what you see as a drawing. It's called Virginia here, but I'm not sure why. But in 1850, they sent out a thing to all the farmers in their district telling them how they could build an ice house, even for themselves personally, beside their house. And it got pretty sophisticated. It's insulated, and they had a ramp to bring the ice up, and they had a ventilated, you can see the vent in the top here, the vent here, and then the insulation here, hay between the sawdust wood shavings here. And this is how ice houses were built. Now they found out if they didn't ventilate the roof, and if they didn't insulate it, they just well leave it out in the open because it didn't last until summer. Because they cut it off the lakes and they hauled it up and put it in ice houses. Well, there are a couple little basic bits of energy basics that we have to talk about. First of all, there's ways to convert energy, and there's a 1,000 ways. Everything from converting light to heat, which black asphalt will burn your feet. White concrete is not hot. How about that? Light to electricity, that's what solar is. Food for playing football, metabolism. Your body is converting that energy that you eat, take it in, a little bit of water, and pretty soon you have more energy. And coaches know how to enrich your protein and your carbohydrates. Heat moves, secondly, heat moves by a combination of conduction, convection, and radiation. Now I'm saying these things in kind of the basics because to that will explain why the ice house works. If you don't understand these, then, and we'll talk more about it. So conduction is insulation, convection is air moving, and radiation is reflection or emissivity, as I say next. Dark colors absorb, and light colors reflect. What's the best reflector in your house? A mirror. Yep. So it's almost a perfect, sometimes we wish it wasn't perfect, but anyway, go ahead. Now, another one that is really basic. Hot air goes up. Cold air goes down. They offset. Cold air is heavier than hot air. So that's basic. If you throw a rock in the lake, it sinks, right? If you push a chunk of styrofoam in the lake, it floats. Now, heating and air people need to know this too, because if they don't plan their ductwork and their return airs for a tight house, tested to be tight, your house is going to be a joke. And most houses built today leak like a sieve. So why would you draw from up above hot air from the leaks and send it into your house again? We're going to talk more about that, and I'll show you a video. Here's the chapter in the book, actually chapter 10, and this is copied right out of the book. So hot air comes in here, and because it's heated with the sun, it rises up and vents out the top. The hotter the day, the faster the air moves. This is the same principle as in ice houses, but we've enhanced that. We add foam insulation going up the slope, and by the way, we have a clean attic which you can walk around on and not get 12 inches of fiberglass or rock wool or whatever on the floor. The attic is part of the insulation in the house. We don't put ductwork up there to heat it or to cool it, but it is like dead air sitting there above your house doing what it should be doing and the way it can do it better. So here's the ice house right here, stapled to the trusses. It works best with trusses. It works best with new construction, but it has been done in existing homes. There's a close-up. The air comes up through vents, right through the vents, up through the top, and out. And the attic is insulated from the top and the sides. Raised heel trusses so that the trusses have a space to insulate them, rather than sitting right on the wall where it comes to zero and there's no space there for insulation. And by the way, that's a part of the house that's very leaky. Here are the vents down the roof. They don't leak, even in windstorms. I won't say a hurricane or something. And look at there, in the hips. People say, oh, you can't vent a hip. Well, I'm here to say that you can. And this special ridge vent, which is now commercially available all over the country, can be put on hips without the roof leaking. Very nice. Here's what it looks like in a vaulted room with the insulation up on the top, and above the insulation is the ice house roof. The hotter the day, the faster. It also means that you don't have to have a white roof. A lot of people don't like white roofs. It doesn't matter what color roof, whether it's metal or tile or asphalt or white asphalt or black asphalt. It works just the same. Now, here's a really important part. This is one of our employees. He has a smoke pen. And with the blower door, we put 25 pascals of vacuum on the house. After it's insulated, after the doors and windows and everything are in. Why do we do that? Because we want to air seal the house. And then, after we air seal it, we provide for mechanical insulation, which gives you fresh air, but it mixes in a device, adjusts the humidity, and gives you fresh air, even though you're so tight. People have to have fresh air, particularly in these days of COVID and other reasons for fresh air. So with a smoke pencil, you can find even the small leaks. Take some foam or caulk or whatever and fix them. Based on studies by Oak Ridge National Laboratories, they said, after some extensive, that the ice house roof would save 46% on a summer day's cooling, not a winter day. It just sits there dormant. But it does stop damming in the cold climates. When you have ice forming at the eaves, it doesn't do that anymore. The ice just flows down because it's not a place where the heat is from the house is getting to melt the ice on your roof, and then it gets to the eaves and it freezes and causes a backflow of water. The way we do it now, as defined in my book, including the radiant barrier, because if we go back here, there's a radiant barrier. Let's go back one more. There's a radiant barrier just on the bottom and of the ice house roof. So radiant barrier, that is part of the way heat moves, reflection, absorption. So now, based on our studies, including the radiant barrier and the foam insulation, will save 64% on a summer day's cooling. 64%. If you have a $100 utility bill, it goes down to $36. Wow. So it really works, not just because we started, but the first house that we built in 1971-2-3 had ice house roof, even in Montreal, because in Montreal, suburban Montreal, where we built our first house, they do have an air conditioning load, but we didn't put an air conditioner in because we had an ice house roof. Now, 64%. If everybody in the country, or at least the new subdivisions like you see out all over the sprawl, houses lined up like crazy, you can't build them fast enough. They don't have ice house roofs. They haven't been blower door tested. And I'm going to show you a video about that in a minute. If everybody, or even half of them, would be shutting down power plants. Shutting down power plants, particularly coal plants, and then natural gas plants come next. The second one is orientation. And I want to tell you a little bit about why orientation is important. Would everybody agree that houses have at least 4 sides? Some people are questioning.
Architects that would argue with you.
Yeah. Well, at least, maybe more, maybe. It might be a triangle, but okay. Does that mean that they face 4 directions? Sounds pretty reasonable to me. North, south, east, and west, or maybe north, south, southwest, or something else, some combination. But if you pay attention to how a house faces, and this doesn't just mean new houses, it might be a retrofit house, or even how you handle the shades in your existing house. In most subdivisions, the homes are lined up to the curb. Anybody want to dispute that? So around the cul-de-sac you go and down the street, they all line up to the curb. Isn't there a better way to plan a subdivision? With computer drafting now, and you can flip houses front, back, left, right. Jake here does that for a living for us. And lo and behold, it's a way of making a lot of difference, even in addition to the ice house roof. So there's a house, there's a sunrise in the summer, high over the sky, steep angle. In the winter, it's low in the sky, rising in the southeast, setting in the southwest in the winter. Equinox is east to west, and then the summer rises in the northeast, sets in the northwest, and lo and behold, there's daylight longer. That's just the way the world is made, at least here in Arkansas, maybe not on the equator or in South America. So then we look at the angles over here. In the summer, this is the sun angle, in the winter. This is the sun angle. So guess what? We can let the winter sun in and keep the summer sun out. And at night, after the sun goes down in the winter, you can close your shades because that makes them more like an insulated wall. And in the morning, raise your shades. So, energy planned, environmentally sustainable in most subdivisions. I think we've said most of this. The next video, take a minute for it to come up. Is it? Most builders or developers. Most most builders and developers, for good reasons, don't want to live in their own subdivisions. But I and our son, David, who you'll see in a minute, live in our own subdivision. And did you see caring neighbors? I tell you what, the people that live in our subdivision have the same commitment, the same philosophy. They wouldn't build there. And believe it or not, interestingly, our appraisal values are higher than practically any other place in Northwest Arkansas. Because appraisers now can give value for energy efficiency. So that's something that we haven't talked about in terms of the economics, resale value, and then just the pleasure of living and being comfortable. Yes, you can put solar on the roof on a leaky old house, and you might get your bill down, but you might be uncomfortable every night, every day. So part of this that we've talked about in terms of the way houses are built, not only our houses, but one of the reasons that we can make a big improvement. And part of what Michele and I see as a major challenge. In fact, I invited through the Home Builders Association. Are there any home builders here? We invited and sent an invitation, like many of you received, to all the home builders. Isn't that right, Laura? Yep. And they received it, but they didn't come. So we're going to explain maybe why it's a challenge for us.
If you went to your mechanic and you said, Mr. Mechanic, my car's getting really bad gas mileage and I don't know why. And he says, well, let me come out and look at your car. And he walks out in the parking lot and he goes, well, I know what's wrong with your car. You have square wheels. Your car isn't going very well because it's not very efficient. It has square wheels. And you say, well, what would I do to fix that? Well, we're going to put round wheels on your car instead of square wheels. That would take your car from being very inefficient to very efficient immediately. It's low-hanging fruit. And so we talk to our customers all the time that too many homes in America are built with square wheels. They're improperly structured. And when I say improperly structured, they're structured or built or framed in such a way that the insulator cannot effectively insulate and air seal. When we go through our process of design and build, we design the structure so that it's properly framed, not only for the sake of the strength of the house, the insulation, indoor air quality, there's a variety of things that flow out of that. And if it's properly structured and framed, properly insulated, then we can go to your heating and air contractor and say, we need to put a much smaller heating and air system, or maybe we only put one heating and air system instead of 3, and then the customer saves on the cost of the original equipment installation, they save on the maintenance of those other systems for years, and they save the energy. And we want to find the low-hanging fruit. We want to get rid of the square wheels so that when our customer moves into their house, they say, I have a house that just by its design and structure and all these little details, it simply just uses less energy.
I'll just interject here that Fayetteville is, I think, the only, maybe it's Fayetteville and North Little Rock, are the only 2 cities in Arkansas where for new built homes, there has to be a home energy rating. When you buy a car, there's a sticker on the window that says what the fuel economy rating is for that car, how many miles per gallon you'll get. There's a similar sticker on new houses in Fayetteville and North Little Rock that says, what's the energy, the mileage, miles per gallon on this house, right? How energy efficient is this house? It's not on existing homes, but it's on all new homes. It's a beautiful little chart. So look for that if you're ever in the market for a new home. So builders, Orlo was talking about builders not being here. the thing is builders can build energy efficient homes when the local government asks them to do that or forces them to do that, enforces the laws. This is where that policy thing, local governments in Arkansas enforce building codes, and the state sets a minimum building code standard, which we're decades behind on that, but anyway.
2009.
We're still using 2009 in Arkansas, and guess what? They're already on 2021 or 22 or something.
25.
And anyway, yeah. So we're way behind. But local governments set the standard, and they can be higher than the minimum. They can't be lower than the minimum, but they can be higher. And so Fayetteville and North Little Rock have chosen to be that way. Now what we need is you see all these new homes being built in Rogers, Springdale, Cave Springs, Elm Springs, let's name all the Springs towns up here. And they are not being built to these standards. So we are still continuing to build homes at a rapid pace that leak, that are not energy efficient, and that will forever be that way until the owners get wise. So anyway, this is the importance of policy and the importance of being an informed consumer.
Oh,
Oh, hit escape, hit, go like that, and then go like that, and we should go past it. Bam! Okay.
This is kind of a wrap-up of some of the philosophy. It used to be in 1978 when we formed Stitt Energy Systems as a company doing different things with clean energy. And it used to be that we would talk to customers and they would ask us, well, is this economical? And we'd have to say in an honest way that yes, it is more expensive. And many of them disappeared. But now, and they wouldn't buy. But the people that really wanted an energy efficient house and had a commitment to climate change and energy efficiency would go ahead and build it. That's what kept us in business. Now, we explain the facts and the details and the arithmetic that an energy efficient house is the most efficient and incredible economics. Tax credits, lower utility bills, you get a dividend in effect every month. It's not taxable, not income in the state or in the federal government. It's just a dividend because you've saved all that. But you're also locking in on the utility bills charges to you that you own that utility company for the next number of years. So we're saying, but we're still saying now, it is the right thing to do for our children, our grandchildren, and to combat climate change.
I will say, if you haven't gotten your free home energy audit, get that. Get started, use those rebates. So Arkansas has we have what's called an energy efficiency resource standard in Arkansas. So every month on your electric bill, you pay a little rider, a little extra fee. And when they gather up all those funds, a little bit from you, a little bit from me, it creates a big pool of funds every year. That money gets doled back out to you. You're entitled to those funds if you insulate your house, if you put in new windows, if you buy an energy efficient refrigerator or washer or dryer or whatever. So this year, I was doing some renovations down here on this little 1,000 square foot place. The heating and air conditioning system was terrible, so we replaced it, and I got a $1,200 check from SWEPCO for buying a more efficient system. And guess what? Every month since I've lived here, through this summer, my utility bills have gone down every single month. I'm still trying to find the bottom on the utility bill here. So, you know, your utility bills don't have to go up. The rates can go up and your utility bill can keep going down. So take advantage of those programs. You're entitled to those dollars.
And included in that are light bulbs, LED light bulbs. A little bit one comment about light bulbs. I had a friend known for a long time, and we've been in different groups together, and they just built a house. They didn't build it with us. We talked to them. And he said, well, our two boys, they're in high school. We just don't even tell them anymore to turn off the lights. And I said, what? And I said, yeah, they should be forming a habit at their age to turn off. He says, no, LEDs don't use any energy, and so we don't have to turn them off anymore. Well, if you start doing a little arithmetic and you say there's 15 light bulbs that might be on 12, 20 hours a day, depending on the age of your teenagers or your children, and then you multiply that by days and months and years, and then the next door neighbors, and pretty soon millions and millions of houses and children, we'd again shut down power plants if people would just turn off their lights. Just first change them to LEDs. I'm not meaning to downplay that, but tell your children to turn off the lights. Make it a habit.
Yeah.
There's coming events, 3 of them, that you might want to attend. The first one is next Saturday and Sunday. There's a under construction open house. And if you call or email Laura here in the back, she'll book you a reservation. The owners have asked that that it's not anybody come to their house under construction. So make a reservation. There's no charge, it's free. Walk through a house where you see what we've been talking about. The second one is on the third one, the tour, the national tour. If you go to this website, the American Solar Energy Society has 46 states that have submitted, and people in those 46 states have submitted solar jobs. Everything from businesses to churches to whatever, houses, unusual houses, what we call community solar systems, where everybody buys 7 or 10 panels, whatever they can afford, and they put it out in a farm in the country, and then everybody has, those are my solar panels, and I get the benefit and I get the tax credit. So that's something that's coming. The walking tour is part of that, and on the 2nd of October, from 12 to 4 p.m., you can walk through the subdivision that we showed you in the video. It's our own subdivision. We live there. Our son lives there. You will see how happy and caring neighbors see their house.
Is that strictly virtual, or is that also an in-person event?
The virtual you can go to and you can see the same thing, but then if you want to walk through that subdivision,
Okay.
you can on the 2nd from 12 to 4. So there's a little flyer in the back. Maybe some of you have it right there. I see some of it, yeah. That the specific, there's also a QR code there, so you can do it with your phone. And future continuing, I want to ask this, Michele and I talked about this yesterday and so forth. Is there interest in, we talked to the library, is there an interest in, not in this room necessarily, but in some room, a continuing education for energy efficiency in housing and living, holistically green living? How many people would like that?
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, probably half. So sign up or make a note or something, and we'll keep you in touch. Hopefully you have questions. Did anybody write them down in their idea trap? I've seen several people writing.
Awesome.
I am presently negotiating for new windows in my house. It was built in 1985, and I'm going to replace all the windows. So where do I go to find out about different government rebates on these windows as I start this negotiating?
I would start at the Arkansas Energy Office. They should be able to tell you what the rebates, because every year they put out a new schedule of rebates, the amount of the rebates, what they're paying rebates for, and so forth, right? So go to the Arkansas Energy Office and also talk to do you know who your utility company is? Are you SWEPCO? Are you, okay, SWEPCO. Talk to SWEPCO too, because they can tell you. Windows do make a big difference.
They do.
Yeah, we had single pane windows. We had a house in Wilson Park that was built in 1949 that had single pane windows that were metal, and they were the leakiest things in the world, and we replaced all of those. Yeah,
So you go
made a
to
huge
vinyl,
difference.
vinyl,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Vinyl's
yeah,
good.
Yeah, vinyl's good. It's less just conductive than that metal. So yeah, that's a great step. And here's the thing too, like if you just keep taking these steps, when we had this house over in Wilson Park, we still have it, but every year we would take advantage of another rebate. So one year we would get the insulation rebate, and the next year we would get the appliance rebate, and the next year we would get the whatever rebate, right? So the insulation, so we had the insulation blown in the walls one year. Then when we got to the point where the furnace died or the air conditioner died, we could downsize to a smaller unit and we could get a rebate on that. So we just watched our energy bills go down for years and years. It took us 10 years to get this done, right? But we got it done. You just have to be real intentional about it.
Well, I got roof insulation, 8 years ago maybe, and that was on rebates, and my whole roof insulated for like $250.
Exactly. And then your utility bills go down, right? Yeah.
Putting a blanket on top of my house.
Exactly. Yeah. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Yeah.
Other
so just keep
questions?
doing that.
Back in the back.
Has this been implemented on like a design competition level, such as like the U.S. Department of Energy Solar Decathlon, or there's one coming up in California, Orange County?
Are you a student at the U of A by any chance? No. Yeah. The U.S. Department of Energy used to do the solar decathlon, those solar design houses, on the mall in Washington, D.C., right? And they've stopped doing that now because they realized it took a whole lot of carbon for all those houses to get hauled to Washington, D.C., and then hauled back to wherever they came from. So now it's distributed, and students present their ideas. I think last year they went to Colorado and presented their ideas for solar decathlon houses. So that competition still exists, and students are still participating in it. Yeah.
There is talk of the University of Arkansas getting involved in the solar decathlon.
Yeah, it would be fun. It's a fun project.
With
Super intensive.
COVID and now Zoom, I think we're going to see that it's a different decathlon. And
Yeah,
climate change.
yeah.
Somebody there?
I was trying to get clarification on the Inflation Reduction Act. You're talking more about that. I know I was thinking, oh, we gotta hurry up and get solar before the end of the year because the 26% rebate, I guess. But now with that passing, I'm not sure if it gets better after the end of the year. I don't really know.
It's a good question.
I tried to
Do you know if it
research.
gets better or if it stays the same?
Our understanding is that it's going to go, it used to be 30, went to 26. Now we think it's going back to 30. But even our CPA that does all our company work and our personal work is saying, gosh, there's a whole lot of reading there. I don't really know what to tell you yet.
Yeah, I tried to research myself and figure it out.
Yeah. I would say there's going to be something for sure in 2023 and probably through 25. Any other questions?
I hear.
I was wondering if you can kind of give me a better idea of the scope of services that I could rely on Stitt Group for. It looks obvious that, you know, if I want a new solar system, a solar array, then I could, you know, work with you to get that. But I also heard design build. But do you also have, you know, subcontractors and things like this? A big worry with a lot of this kind of new advanced framing and air tightness and things like this. Having a contractor that we trust to use is a big part of that. And if you have that kind of network already, then it makes me feel so much better to be able to work with you.
Anything I say because of supply chain is conditioned. We have specialized, and there are two of us that do this in the group. We have specialized in the design and then the construction services. And we not only do the house design, we take it and do it in 3D rendering where you can fly over it like a drone, even fly into it if you're so inclined or want to know more. And then we do a set of working drawings. And I'm talking about a very complete set. In effect, we build the house on paper. And then our field services people, who are not the general contractor, sit down for extended periods of time with the contractor. We're not the contractor. We can't be every place where our houses are going. 18 different states to date. They're near Conway, they're in North Carolina, 2 jobs in North Carolina. They're kind of contagious. When we get one, we get another. But a 3-way contract, most contracts are 2-way. This one's 3-way. The builder, the owner, and us. And the builder agrees in writing that they'll build it according to the plans. And if the builder makes mistakes or we make mistakes, we agree that we're going to work them out. Am I saying this well? But it is a challenge. And getting subcontractors on the job right now is a major. Excavators have 6 weeks or some of them months of work ahead of them. And if you get mad at them, they say, hey, I don't need your job. I'm going to go to the other one. So it is something that we have to handle. But over 1,000 jobs, most of them here in Northwest Arkansas, have been done. And like I said, 129 of them had their pictures of their house in the book, and every one of them, not one exception, agreed to have their house included. And they wouldn't do that if they weren't happy customers.
I read through your Facebook page for the Holistically Green and all the ideas, and a lot of it talking about the square wheels and retrofitting. So I know I'm not looking for a new house, I'm just looking at what's happening with our current house. What kind of services, I mean, do I just call you up and you come and look at it, auditor, or how does that work? And also the home energy audit, if you have any names. We had one through Ozark, and I was really disappointed because they don't do the blower test anymore. So really, you just kind of looked at it and I thought, well, I've already done everything that I know to do.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm looking to go to the next level, but I don't know what to do.
Whether it's a new house or a remodel or whatever, we go without charge, on good faith, to the job site or to your house or wherever it is. We don't want to go if the customer doesn't have a job site yet. We can't build and hang it from the clouds, regardless of what all the clouds can do for us with computers. We can't hang houses from clouds. So once you have some specifics, then we explain to you what we see, and if you want to start more specific drawings, we ask for a down payment, a deposit, $3,500, and then we start drawing. Unlike most architects and architecture firms, we don't draw, and then say, gosh, or you say, I really didn't want to spend $1,500,000. So we'd like to very early, before even we do the working drawings, get the budget, the floor plan, and the financial plan to dovetail.
Mm-hmm. I will say that Orlo and the Stitt Group did a retrofit on my sister's house and an addition, built a wing. We needed to add a wing for my parents, but in the process, did the retrofit on the existing house that was built in like 1952 or 53, something like that. So the new part that was added, of course, that was built to Stitt standards, but the old part then got upgraded, maybe not quite to all the way to Stitt standards, but as close as they could get it. So.
Is there kind of a threshold for those services? Like, I'm not sure the extent of kind of the remodel, but I kind of was thinking of the same question of if I'm looking to just do a few kind of, maybe some DIY, maybe some handyman kind of come in and do a few things, is that within the threshold of something that Stitt Group would, be a resource for? Or is it more for, I'm ready to make a major investment in my home, bring it up to a really good standard, and I can put $100,000 into it or $50,000 into it?
Michele mentioned having your home energy audited. And unlike the utility companies, they're not usually doing a blower door test. They'll come in, walk through and say you need more insulation in the attic. But I think any really reliable audit should have a blower door test, and then you can get up to about 30 pages of results. And then that is a way of prioritizing. What do I do first? You mentioned putting in new windows. Well, if your windows are leaky and poor and single, and maybe even made out of steel and single pane, then that would be a very high priority. Heating and air, if it's 40 years old and a SEER of 6, then that's going to be high.
Yeah.
But you can buy dollars and what it costs to make them. That really isn't our forte.
Yeah. And they'll do, oftentimes here, Orlo mentioned this before, they run the ductwork through the attic, right? And so now you're paying a lot of money to cool the air in the summertime, right? Because it is blazing hot and the humidity is through the roof. So you're paying a lot of money to cool the air, and then it's going through your attic, where it's already hot, and so that's making the air hotter, and it's leaking because the ductwork has leaks in it. So you're cooling your attic space too, right? So just simple things like sealing the ductwork is one of the cheapest, biggest bang for your buck things that you can possibly do, right?
That is so important, the leakage and the ducts. We will not put ducts in an attic. And I would say about 1/3 of the houses that we've worked with have had return airs sucking from either the attic or the garage. Leaks in the return air. So if you're sucking in 100-degree air, you're replacing the air in your house. Okay.
Yeah.
So they say that you'll have to get a police pass if we don't get out of here by 8 o'clock. Or they'll leave you in here all night, whatever. I don't know what the remedy is for that. But I think we've had good questions. I appreciate your coming. And each one of you is a apostle, somebody to go out and spread the word.
Yeah. So keep saving. Reduce your carbon footprint.
Yeah.
We're all counting on you. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for coming. Yeah.